What if pain could become your superpower? What if every insult, every failure, and every dark moment wasn't meant to break you, but to build you? This is not just a story. It's a brutal, raw, and real journey. A journey of a man who was broken 1,000 times, but refused to stay down. The book? Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, one of the toughest minds on the planet. A Navy SEAL, an ultra runner, a man who faced every demon and came back stronger. Stay with us. This might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. Before we dive into this powerful journey, if you find this kind of content inspiring or motivating, don't forget to like the video to support us. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next summaries, and make sure to turn on the notification bell, because what's coming next is even more powerful. Chapter 1. The Impossible Task. David Goggins wasn't born a warrior. He was born into chaos. His earliest memories weren't of toys or birthdays. They were of fear, violence, and survival. Growing up in a small town in Indiana, Goggins lived under the brutal rule of his father, a man who ran a roller skating rink by day and ruled his family with terror by night. Beatings were routine, silence was the law, and fear was a permanent shadow. At school, he wore a mask, a quiet kid who barely spoke, always looking over his shoulder. But inside, he was breaking. No one knew that every night he went home to a battlefield. His escape? Dreams. Dreams of being someone powerful, respected, free. He watched military men on TV, their discipline and strength, lighting something inside him. But that version of life felt galaxies away. He was barely passing school, struggling with a learning disorder, hiding the abuse, and later facing racism, obesity, and deep depression. Yet, the impossible began with a decision to no longer accept his story as final. David didn't have a coach, he didn't have a supportive family, he had pain, and he used it as fuel. In this first chapter, David doesn't ask us to feel sorry for him. He dares us to look at our own lives, to ask, what have I survived? What pain am I burying? What story have I told myself that's holding me back? Because his message is clear. You don't need to be a superhero to change. You just need to stop running from the truth. And that truth, it's ugly. It's uncomfortable. But facing it is where freedom begins. Chapter 2. The Accountability Mirror. David Goggins was tired of lying, tired of pretending to be okay, tired of blaming the world, tired of hiding from his own reflection. So he created a ritual, one that would change his life forever. He called it the Accountability Mirror. Each night he'd stand in front of the bathroom mirror, not to fix his hair, not to practice fake affirmations, but to confront himself, brutally, honestly, completely. He'd look deep into his own eyes and ask, who are you really? Are you doing everything you can? Are you being weak or real? And for every lie he found, he'd write a sticky note, a harsh truth taped right to that mirror. Every morning he'd wake up and see it. You're fat. You're lazy. You're not studying. You're making excuses. It was painful, but it was real. Because Goggins believed you can't fix what you won't face. This mirror became his battleground, the place where weakness died and raw truth gave birth to transformation. He didn't wait for motivation. He created it with brutal honesty and daily action. Soon, those notes started changing. You ran 2 miles today. You studied for the ASVAB. You didn't quit. They weren't fake praises. They were earned. Trauma teaches us here, self-love isn't soft. It's savage. It's holding yourself to the highest standard, not out of hate, but out of duty to your potential. If you want to grow, start here. Stand in front of your own mirror tonight. No filters, no excuses, just truth. And remember, you are your own savior. Not your parents, not your partner, not a coach. You. Chapter 3. The Impossible Task. David Goggins had one goal now: to become a Navy SEAL. But there was a problem. He was over 300 pounds, and the recruiters told him bluntly, "You have less than 3 months to lose over 100 pounds, otherwise you're out." It wasn't just difficult, it was nearly impossible. No one believed he could do it. No one. Except David Goggins. So what did he do? He suffered on purpose. Every day, he woke up at 4 a.m. He biked, he ran, he swam, he barely ate. He trained while in pain and kept going when others would stop. And when his body screamed, "That's enough," his mind whispered, "We're just getting started." Why? Because Goggins had learned a crucial truth. Suffering is the path. Not around it, not over it, through it. While most people search for motivation, he searched for pain. Because pain was the teacher. He didn't listen to the voice that said, "This hurts." He listened to the voice that asked, "Is this all you've got?" Lesson of the chapter. Your mind quits long before your body ever does. You're capable of 40% more than you think, but only if you're willing to suffer, focus, and sacrifice. The impossible task? It's just a test of who you are and who you're willing to become. So the next time you think you can't, ask yourself, what would Goggins do?
Chapter 4. Taking Souls. David Goggins learned something powerful during Hell Week. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the smartest. But if you don't quit, you can own the battlefield. And more than that, you can break your opponent mentally. This is what he called taking souls. It started during SEAL training. They were wet, freezing, and running on zero sleep. The instructors pushed them, screamed at them, and tried to break them. And while most guys were on the edge of quitting, Goggins smiled. He clapped his hands. He cheered on the team. He even cracked jokes. Why? Because he realized something. When you smile in pain, you confuse your enemy. When they expect you to break and you rise, you take their soul. That's how he flipped the game. He stopped being the hunted and became the hunter. He used every hardship as a weapon, and soon, even the instructors started respecting him, not because he was perfect, but because he was unbreakable. Lesson of the chapter. Sometimes, the most powerful move isn't strength, it's spirit. When life beats you down and people wait for you to collapse, smile, push harder, shock them. Take their doubt, take their fear, take their soul. Because nothing scares the world more than someone who refuses to quit. Chapter 5. Armored Mind. Pain was David Goggins' daily companion. His legs were shattered, his body screamed, and his past haunted him. But he kept moving. Why? Because he wasn't chasing motivation. He was building something deeper, an armored mind. Motivation is fleeting. It fades when things get hard. But mental armor? that stays. Goggins learned that every time he pushed through pain, every time he ran when his body said no, every time he studied with a brain that once failed school, he was forging steel in his mind. Discipline, grit, inner fire. Not because it was easy, but because he refused to stay weak. Here's the truth he discovered. You don't need to feel good to do great things. You don't need perfect conditions to grow. You just need to show up again and again. 1 mile at a time, 1 rep at a time, 1 painful moment at a time. Every drop of sweat, every failure, every tear. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Lesson of the chapter. You are not born strong, you build strength. And the mind? It's your ultimate weapon. So stop waiting for motivation. Put on your armor. Step into the storm. And remember what Goggins says, the only way to truly grow is to suffer with purpose. Chapter 6. It's not about a trophy. David Goggins had run hundreds of miles, shattered records, and pushed his body beyond breaking. But he realized something shocking. It was never about the medals. It was never about the finish lines. It was about something deeper. At mile 70 of a brutal race, his toenails gone, his legs swollen, and pain exploding through his body, people asked, "Why don't you stop? Why do this to yourself?" And Goggins answered with silence, because the answer wasn't for them. It was between him and the man in the mirror. The world chases trophies, titles, likes, applause. But Goggins teaches us, real pride comes when no one's watching, when there's no camera, no crowd, just you and the dark. He learned to love the process, not the prize, to embrace the suffering because it revealed who he truly was. This chapter hits deep. We all want to win, but why do we want it? To prove something to others? Or to conquer something within? Goggins invites you to stop running after external validation and start running after your own potential. Because trophies fade, but the man or woman you become, that stays forever. The challenge is this. Next time you chase a goal, ask yourself, am I doing this for the crowd or for the quiet warrior inside me? Chapter 7. The Most Powerful Weapon. David Goggins faced war. Not just the one on the battlefield, but the war inside his own mind. He discovered something most people never realize. Your mind is your most powerful weapon, but only if you learn to control it. Most people, they are controlled by their minds. They quit when it gets hard. They listen to the voice that says, stop. They believe the story that says, you're not good enough. But Goggins, he learned to rewrite the story. He didn't have better genes. He had better self-talk. When his body screamed, I'm done, he replied, you're not done. You've just started. And then he kept going. In this chapter, he shares his key technique, the cookie jar method. Whenever life hit him hard, he reached into his mental cookie jar, a collection of past victories, no matter how small. I made it through Hell Week. I survived abuse. I ran 100 miles on broken legs. He reminded himself of his power, and that memory gave him strength now. This is your tool too. Everyone has a cookie jar. Moments you survived, battles you won, days you showed up when you didn't want to. Use it, because when the mind tries to break you, you must remind it who you are. Goggins says, you are in control, not your pain, not your past. You.
Next time your mind tells you to quit, don't argue. Just reach into your cookie jar. Pull out proof that you're stronger than you think you are. Because the most powerful weapon isn't a machine or a gun. It's a disciplined, focused, unbreakable mind. Chapter 8. Talent not required. Society loves talent. They celebrate the gifted, the naturals, the prodigies. But Goggins, he doesn't believe in talent. He believes in effort, in consistency, in doing the work when no one's watching. As a kid, David was told he was slow. He was told he was dumb. He couldn't read well. He failed over and over. But one thing he learned: you don't need to be born ready. You just need to decide to get ready. Brick, talent is limited. But work ethic? That's infinite if you choose it every day. He started waking up at 4 a.m. He studied words he didn't understand. He trained like his life depended on it. And here's the truth. The world owes you nothing for your talent, but it will respect you for your effort. This chapter breaks the myth that some people are just built different. Goggins says, "I built myself, one painful rep at a time." So here's the message for you. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel special. Start building today, even if it's ugly. The only thing you need? Relentless action. No excuses, no waiting for perfect conditions, no hiding behind the idea of, "I wasn't born with it." You don't need talent. You just need to refuse to quit.
David Goggins had already proven he was tough. He was a Navy SEAL. He had run ultra-marathons. He had broken through pain most people never even meet. But to him, that wasn't enough. Because when you become great in a room full of average people, it's easy to get comfortable. But Goggins didn't want to be great by comparison. He wanted to be uncommon amongst the uncommon. That means this: even if you're already elite, even if people admire you, you still push harder. You still go further. Goggins wasn't interested in praise. He was interested in mastery. In this chapter, he talks about how many Navy SEALs stop pushing once they make it. They feel safe at the top. But he says the top is just the beginning. Key idea? Being better than most is not the same as being your best. And your best has no finish line. He did things even SEALs thought were crazy. He ran 100-mile races with broken feet. He trained like every day was his first day. Why? Because being uncommon means refusing to settle, even when everyone claps for you. What can we learn from this? Don't compare yourself to the crowd. Compare yourself to your potential. Don't stop when you're good. Keep going until you're truly great by your own standards. Let the world stay comfortable. Let them celebrate early. But you, stay sharp, stay wild, stay uncommon. Chapter 10. The Empowerment of Failure. Most people fear failure. They avoid it, hide from it, or let it define them. But to David Goggins, he embraced it. In this chapter, he shares something few high performers talk about: his biggest failures, his lowest points, the goals he didn't reach, the times he was broken, not just in body, but in spirit. He failed the Air Force pararescue course. He failed ultramarathons. He even failed personal relationships. But here's the difference. He saw failure not as the end, but as a teacher. Goggins says,
Every failure is fuel. Every disappointment is data. Every mistake, a message. He created what he called a failure file, a record of every time he fell short, not to shame himself, but to study it. Because real growth doesn't happen when you're winning. It happens when you're broken and still choose to continue. Lesson: don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to stop trying. Be afraid to ignore the lesson. Goggins believes the most empowered version of yourself is buried beneath your greatest failures. That version of you, it's waiting to be uncovered, one hard truth at a time. So next time life punches you in the face, don't hide, don't cry. Write it down, learn, adapt, then go again. Failure is your training ground, and that's what makes you unbreakable. Chapter 11. What if? This chapter begins with a simple, haunting question. What if? It's not a question of regret, but a challenge, a test, a spark that could change your life. David Goggins looks back at all the moments he could have given up, all the voices that told him, "You're not good enough. You weren't born for this. Stay where it's safe." But he asked himself, what if they're wrong? What if I'm more? And he discovered something powerful. The human potential is nearly limitless, but most people never scratch the surface because they never dare to ask, what if I gave it everything? Bang! This chapter isn't just motivational. It's a call to action. Goggins talks about becoming the one in your bloodline who breaks the cycle, who says, it ends with me. I choose discomfort. I choose growth. I choose pain if it gets me to the next level. He teaches us, most people live at 40% of their capacity. The mind is the only thing that limits the body. So what if you stopped waiting? What if you faced your past? What if you gave this life everything you've got? What if you became someone no one expected, even you? This is the legacy Goggins leaves us with. Not a life of comfort, but a life of discipline, purpose, and relentless pursuit of your highest self. No excuses, no shortcuts, no lies, just truth, effort, and transformation.
Chapter 12. The Accountability Mirror. Goggins ends his journey with one of the most raw, honest tools he ever used, a simple mirror. But it wasn't for checking his hair or fixing his face. It was for something far more powerful, facing the truth. He called it the accountability mirror. Each night, young Goggins would stand in front of it, look himself in the eyes, and ask, am I being honest with myself? Am I giving everything I've got? What do I need to fix right now? No filters, no sugarcoating, just truth. While most people avoid the hard questions, Goggins turned them into fuel. He'd write notes on sticky paper and put them on that mirror. You're fat, fix it. You're lazy, wake up. You can do better, so do it. Harsh? Yes, but necessary, because growth begins where excuses end. Idea: the mirror is a weapon. The accountability mirror forces you to stop blaming others and start taking full ownership. It's the space where the old version of you dies and the new one is built, one small victory at a time. Final message from Goggins: you are in control. You always were. You don't need permission. You don't need luck. You don't need to wait. What you need is honesty, discipline, and the courage to suffer for your dreams. Goggins' legacy. This book wasn't about showing off achievements. It was a blueprint for how anyone, no matter how broken, can rebuild themselves through pain, through failure, through truth. So now the question is, what are you going to do with your pain? Will you use it? Will you face that mirror tonight? Because the path is still open, and no matter where you are in life, you can't be hurt unless you choose to stay the same. Let this be your challenge, your beginning, your fight. Stay hard, stay honest, and become who you were meant to be. If this message moved you, don't forget to support our journey. Like the video, subscribe to MystiWave, and join us in the next deep, powerful book summary. We're just getting started.